Hi everyone, so today we're going to be adding custom clothes to our Metahuman, and this is our Metahuman in the scene. We're going to export it out, and then in Blender we'll add a custom clothing mesh. So first thing is you have to create a Metahuman without the clothes, because we need a body for reference. And then we'll be able to hide the body and add the clothing on top of it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to the body. And here I have a skeletal mesh. I'm going to right click, press Asset Actions, and go to the Export. Here I'm going to export it to the folder. I already have it exported here, so I'm going to save it. And here I'm going to disable level of detail. And I'm going to enable Export Preview Mesh. And press Export. So now we're going to open Blender. So here in Blender, we can now take our mesh, put it into the scene, import it. And here we have our mesh with a skeletal rig. So now we want to add a FBX file of the clothes. For example, I can use this mesh that I found on the Sketchfab, and I will provide a link for it in the description. And this mesh will just download the 3D model and will download FBX. You can also download GLB. GLB would work fine as well. So here I have the source file. It's called Canvas R. So I'm just gonna drop it here, import FBX. And as you can see, it almost matches our mesh, which is really good in this case. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to press 1 to go into the front view. And here I'm going to just scale up our clothes so that it would match a little bit better with our mesh. So as you can see, there is quite a lot of difference in between the clothes and the mesh. And usually you'll have to fix that if you want the proportions to match correctly on the clothes. And to do so, we can go to the sculpt mode. And here I usually use inflate. And we can just go over these areas and kind of try to bring out the clothes from above the mesh. And just do this for most of the areas of the clothes. You can also use grab tool here, and you can kind of bring it out just above the mesh, so that essentially it wouldn't clip in areas where we'll have visible arms. For example, we're going to have this area visible, so we don't want anything to clip here. So I'm gonna bring it out a little bit more. Let's use some inflate here. And also I'm gonna go over the areas here. And ideally we should do that for the whole mesh. So for the areas like that are kind of complicated to bring out, I recommend going to the edit mode, and we can select actual polygons here. So I can select, for example, polygons here. Let's see in the wireframe, I only want the front. And I can use this proportional editing and just kind of bring it out, and I can use my mouse wheel to control how much would I bring out. And we can carefully bring out the areas like that, essentially, so that it will be on top of our skin. And I'll do the same thing here. So I'm going to select these areas, just bring it out a bit more, and here in the front also we need to do the same thing. Okay, so next thing, ideally what we should do is see how it looks like with the material. So let's add a material here. Let's call it green, for example. And I'm gonna go to shading tab, and here I'm gonna add a texture from the texture folder here. This one, I'm gonna drag and drop it. And I'm just gonna connect it to the color just to see if everything matches. We can go back to the layout. And it seems correct. So the next thing I would do is now we need to attach these clothes to our rig here. So I'm going to press on the clothes, then on the rig with Shift, and press Ctrl P, and select with automatic weights. Once we do that, if I press now on my skeleton and go to the pose mode, we can try to move our bones. We can see that our skeleton now moves along with the bones, as you can see. We need to find the ones that we need to test out. As you can see, there is sometimes a bit of weird stretching. And so this weird stretching happens because this is automatic weights. So if you want to fix areas like that, for example, when the arm is this far from the mesh, you would actually need to do so manually. So you would need to go to the weight paint and find the area that is responsible for this bone. So if we go to the data here and just kind of browse through, we can try to find where the area is. For example, this. And we can go over with a shift, kind of to smooth it out. As you can see here, it's not helping much, so maybe I'll make it a bit bigger. And let's see what other areas affect this. So yes, there's a lot of bones, so you have to be essentially checking which areas are most likely affecting this. And it can be tricky sometimes to find the right one, because especially with metahumans, the weight paint is pretty tricky to do, because there's a lot of it. But if you find the right one, it should start like improving the areas like that and make them look better. In certain cases, you might need to erase a little bit more. But if you have like really stretchy areas, you would need to fix them manually using the vertex paint. But most of the time, it usually works already fine with just like the default, kind of like skinning. So in this case, it looks kind of fine with the legs. And let's check the knees. Yeah, it seems fine. So what I would do, select everything and clear transform. And now we have essentially like the mesh. We can just delete the base body. We don't need it anymore. We just need essentially our skeleton plus the clothes. So now we can export it out. So I'm going to select the mesh, select the skeleton last, and make sure it's last when it's selected with orange. And so let's say this is the folder when I want to export my mesh to. I'm going to press selected objects. I need armature and mesh. And here in the geometry, I usually select face so that it would export the data for the smoothing. And now we can press name our object. So I'm going to name it clothes. And press export FBX. Okay, so now back in Unreal, we are going to import clothes here. Let's see. And here I'm just going to press import. So now you will see it imported the material as well as the skeletal mesh. What I'm going to do now is open the blueprint of our character. So I'm going to go here, open up the blueprint. And here I'm going to drag and drop our clothing that we just added. So I'm going to bring this clothes and put it inside of the body. So once we do that, as you can see now, we have clothes on our character. So now we need to test out if it works. I'm going to press compile and save. Now we're going to go back here. And let's for a test out the control rig with the clothes. So I'm going to go create a new level sequence. Let's create a new folder called level sequence. And inside of it, I'm going to right click, go to the cinematics and find a level sequence here. And I'm going to call it LS-SO1. So here in our level sequence, we need to add our blueprint. So I'm going to add this one, BPMC. Now we add it here, and as you can see now we have control rig here. So to test it out, we can start moving different parts. And as you can see, it's still not moving, so that means we did something incorrect. So we need to go back. So here it seems that the clothes did not attach to the body, and we need to put it actually in the body. So I'm gonna press compile and save. Go back. Now let's test it out. And now as you can see, it moves with the body along. So for the issues like that, when it stretches out a bit weirdly, this is again weight painting. You'd have to go back and fix it. And when the skin appears, we're gonna draw a mask for the body to hide it. But overall, just in a couple of seconds, we already got the clothes on the character, and this is working pretty good without any major issues. So let's get to the... Well, actually, let's test a couple more things here. Yeah, it seems fine. So now let's get to the body masking. So here in Substance Painter, we're going to add the skeletal mesh that we have exported from Unreal. So I'm going to go File, New, select 4K Texture, Unreal Engine as a template. And when you select a file, select the skeletal mesh that we have exported. So in my case, it's here in this folder. And I'm going to select this body mesh, or actually it was main skeleton that we have exported. And press OK. So now we have our body mesh inside of Substance. So what we need to do is actually add opacity first. So we're going to go to texture settings here. And maybe it would be a good idea to bake the maps, but first let's just add the opacity channel here, unsupported by shader, and I'm going to add opacity. And we need to switch the shader to the one that will allow us to work with opacity. This one, PBR Metal Rough with alpha blending, should be fine. So now if we go here, let's say we create a new layer. Here on this new layer, I'm gonna try to paint with opacity. So I'm gonna just select the opacity with Alt, and let's see if we can control it here. So as you can see, we can actually do something with it. So I'm gonna set it to like that, and now add a black mask. And if you start painting over the areas, as you can see, they become transparent. So what we need to do is hide the areas that are beneath the clothing. So actually most of the body would need to be hidden, so we can paint over these areas here and just paint them out, and make sure that we paint out all of the areas, because we need to hide most of the body here. And this is the most convenient way to do that, because you can always go back and just bring out some parts maybe that you have accidentally hidden, or add a bit more paint in case if you didn't hide it well when you were painting a mask. But this way essentially we're going to paint out everything that is basically we don't want to collide with the clothing. So maybe I'll just make it bigger and go over this whole area like that. And maybe with the arms I actually would leave a little bit more here, just in case, so that we wouldn't accidentally erase too much. Here I would hide this as well. And yeah, I think this is a pretty good mask. We can also try a different environment. Maybe it would be a little bit more clear to see what's going on here. So maybe let's switch to something like this. And let's enable the environment so that it would be visible. As you can see, we hid it pretty well. There's some areas that are still visible. So I'm gonna go over there. Okay, so now we can export this mask and add it into the shader in Unreal. So I'm gonna go to File, Export Textures. Okay, so here in the Export section, what we need to do is go to the Output Templates, and we need to create a new template. I'm gonna press plus, and we're gonna call it Opacity Export. Now what we're gonna do is create gray here, and I'm gonna drag and drop opacity onto the gray and press gray channel. So now if we go to settings and we select our template that we have created, Opacity Export, and select a folder where you want to save it, and if we press here, we can see it's going to export our grayscale. So let's press export. So now here in Unreal, we're going to add a modified material so that we'll be able to add a mask there. So I'm going to select my blueprint of the character, and here we have a different materials, as you can see. The one that we need is specifically for the body. So let's press on the body, and there it is, Am I Body Baked? Let's open it up. And we need to go to the parent, and as you can see there is another instance. We need to open the actual parent here. And here if I go on top, we'll find this, Skin Baked Inputs. We can open it up. And here I'm gonna create just a simple texture sample. And I'm gonna convert it to parameter and call it mask. So now we can just, this mask, plug into the opacity mask over here and simply press apply and save. So next thing we're gonna do is go back here to our game, and here we actually need to open up the My Body Baked, and we need to find our mask that we have added. So let's open up the features and let's search for mask. And there it is. There's our mask, so we can enable it. And we need to import our PNG file into the project. So I'm gonna import it somewhere. Well, let's create a separate folder for it called mask. And here is my mask. I'm just gonna drag and drop it here. As you can see, we have it. So I think we might actually have to invert this mask, but let's see how it looks like in the game with our shader. I'm gonna search for this called grayscale in this case. I'm gonna save it. And let's search for the grayscale here. Grayscale. There it is. And the first thing you might notice if we save this material is that nothing changed, right? The body is still visible. And the reason is for that because by default opacity mask is not enabled because the material is opaque. So we actually need to change the material from blend mode here to masked. So now it says font null requires texture 2D, and we have it actually here. So let's see what's going on in the baked input. So perhaps here we need to add this grayscale mask already. Let's apply it. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, there it is. So now, as you can see, it actually masks some of our material. Let's go take a look. And let's actually save it. And let's see if yeah, it's actually did hide it, just not everything. For example, this head, we would need to export the head separately as well and go with the same process and export the mask for it. But as you can see for the body, it actually hid some of our mesh. But in this case, it just was a bit too much. So we can go back and fix it in Substance Painter. So just quickly, for example, in these areas where we hit too much, we can go back into the layer here and just start erasing it. So I'm going to start erasing this in these areas. As you can see, we need to go quite a bit up on both feet. Okay, so I went ahead and fixed the feet here. As you can see now, they're a bit better. There are certain areas that I didn't fully cover, but you get the idea for the workflow. Essentially, you just go back and fix the areas. You can re-export the maps. And for the head, you would do exactly the same thing. You can essentially select your mesh. Then let's find the face here. There's the face. And if we click this little icon, as you can see, we can find where the skeletal mesh is. So you would do exactly the same thing. You do asset actions, export, then put it inside of Substance Painter, draw the mask, create the material, the way we did with the body, and then simply add the mask there. And then you would hide different areas on your mesh. But also one more thing I wanted to mention, there is actually another workflow to kind of like fix areas like this. We can actually work on the mesh itself. I mean, it's better to mask it, but let's say you just need to hide like something very little. What we can do is we can click on the blueprint, open it up, and find the clothes skeletal mesh. There it is here. And here what we can do is actually go to the deform, vertex sculpt, and the move brush is already selected. And this area that we have here, which is like right above the chest and a little bit where the neck is, we can actually just pull it out like here, like that. Let's press apply to asset. And when we look here, as you can see, this area now is fine. And now here we have our character. It seems good. Let's test out the character with the control rig. And here with the control rig, everything seems to be working. So we can start animating our character. One more thing, also for test, you can switch the controls to the eye case. I do that sometimes. If you go to the global control, here I'll just switch to the eye case, IK, and it's a little bit better for testing because we can really stretch and see what's going on. And as you can see, it's pretty good. So I think this works. So this is how you create a MetaHuman with custom clothes. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. You should also join my 3D shortcut community. A link for it would be below in the video. In our community, you can ask any questions, you can send your portfolio and I will review it. We have plenty of different courses that I have uploaded here. Some are exclusives for this community, so please check it out. So thanks for watching and goodbye.